Okay, let's go a little deeper. Improving software economics is and has been Rational's mission and our identity in the market. Improving the economics of something means creating more value for less resource. More may translate into more quality, more features, or something else that is valuable to your customers. And less may translate into less time, less overhead, less resource, or less cost to produce. Now, the productivity of software development is probably the crux of economic success in your organization, or you probably wouldn't be here today. Christoph just presented 3 important themes for becoming more agile and improving software economic outcomes: integrate, collaborate, and optimize. Why are these important? And how do you measure them? And how do we reason about improved software economics? Let's dive into these questions. Complexity is both an opportunity and a risk in developing and delivering smarter, more interconnected systems and applications. For executives, architects, and project managers, this complexity translates directly into a lot more uncertainty. Here are 5 levels of uncertainty defined by Lowenmuller from MIT. Now, software development is a discipline more of economics than of engineering. That's a rather provocative statement, certainly debatable, so let me provide my rationale. Engineering has laws of physics and physical properties of materials to constrain their creations. In software, we are limited mostly by the bounds of human imagination, in user need, in design, and in project plans and forecasts. Our decisions are governed mostly by value judgments, statistical analytics, and forecasts more like economic disciplines. Now, unresolved uncertainty manifests itself in wasted effort, typically late in the life cycle. Software projects using conventional engineering governance expend about 40% of their time and effort in scrap and rework. Traditional engineering governance models assume relatively low levels of uncertainty, and they don't work well for innovative software projects. In tackling this amount of uncertainty, we must take measured, incremental steps and optimize our way to an emerging solution that balances wins across all stakeholders. Now, we chose the word optimize because it has very positive connotations of steering, of control, instrumentation, and dynamic change. Now, in order to optimize anything, you must be able to quantify the current state and measurably improve it. Scientists define measurement as an observation that increases your knowledge and reduces the uncertainty in what you are measuring. We capture value propositions as a probability distribution of economic outcomes. As we reduce uncertainty, we should see the variance of that distribution, namely the width, decrease over time. Measurement helps quantify uncertainty, and it helps us steer toward better outcomes. Less uncertainty results in a more honest and trustworthy exchange among stakeholders. And trust is a core competency of any agile team. So, how can we succeed at economic governance, and what should we measure? Over the last 2 decades, we have planned, reviewed, and assessed thousands of transformations across hundreds of organizations. Here are 3 patterns that lead to success and 3 cautions that reflect common failure modes. First, plan your milestones, activities, and interim checkpoints as a sequence of demonstrable results so that integration testing takes precedence over unit testing. Just think about that. We're going to come back to it later. The biggest uncertainties in the architectural trade-offs, and they get exposed by early and continuous integration. False precision is the root cause of stifling downstream scrap and rework. Building a 5-digit of precision version of the requirements when you have only a 1-digit of precision understanding of what the user wants or needs is the #1 failure pattern in software development. Factual progress and quality metrics are derived from executable code and test bases. This has been a theme of agile methods for many years. To achieve a more honest exchange of progress and quality trends, we must drive all milestones and measurements from increments of demonstrable capability. Now, it's human nature to address the easy things first to show early progress. But there is no economic leverage in doing so. By postponing the resolution of uncertainty, you decrease the probability of success. The trends in changing executable software baselines, and particularly the cost of change trends, are the true measure of agility. Agility means changing easily, so we need to quantify change trends. Both architectural integrity and process effectiveness will drive the cost of change. Agility is not just a process attribute. It's also an architectural attribute. And lastly, everything else, all other artifacts, including specs, models, and plans, are speculation and opinion. They are valuable, but secondary when it comes to measurement. These are pretty stark recommendations, but I hope they get you thinking outside your normal frame of reference. Now I'd like to provide some foundation for these judgments by presenting some core metric patterns that illustrate the measured improvement targets we should expect in successful development transformations with healthy economic governance. In the next 2 slides, the left-hand graphics are going to show the typical benchmarks of following conventional engineering governance for innovative software projects. The right-hand graphics will show the target patterns of outcomes you should expect from healthy projects with true agility and robust architectural solutions. Over the last few decades, we've experienced thousands of projects with profiles like those on the left, and only dozens that have profiles demonstrating true agility like the patterns on the right. The next 3 progress metrics quantify how much work has been accomplished. First, planning progress. With conventional engineering governance, this is measured through milestone achievement and earned value by producing all the supporting artifacts, mostly documents, with an activity-based plan. Planning progress is better measured with an anatomy of planned features, user stories, and capabilities for demonstrating progress to the user community in a result-based plan. Technical progress measures the percentage of code in executable, testable form. The profile on the left is all too familiar to most software development organizations managed with a waterfall mentality. They expend roughly 40% or more of their total resources in excessive scrap and rework during the late stages. The typical result is a linear progression of earned value with a late cataclysmic regression. This late tar pit of rework results in late shoehorned fixes that degrade architectural integrity. Now, the target profile on the right exhibits a more honest sequence of progressions and digressions as uncertainties are resolved. As architectures and scope and plans are refactored and converged upon with stakeholders, an economically governed solution is achieved without significant late regression. Economic progress is a measure of the uncertainty remaining. This is best quantified by the change in the variance in successive cost-to-complete estimates. The left-hand graphic shows the conventional early assessments of low uncertainty as stakeholders enjoy false comfort in the facade of detailed artifacts, plans, models, and early coded units. We lie to ourselves with details. As the more illuminating integration tests are then executed late in the life cycle, the big hidden uncertainties start to emerge. Now, the target profile for economic progress in the right-hand graphic illustrates the outcome you would expect with more honest communications among stakeholders. If project leadership prioritizes activities, artifacts, demonstrations, and releases to steer the projects systematically towards reduced uncertainty, then the variance in the estimates to complete will start off higher because there is an open disclosure of the risks and uncertainties, and it will drop off thereafter. Now, the easier software is to change, the easier it is to achieve any of its other required characteristics. So the most important quality metrics are therefore centered on measurements of change trends in the software release baselines. Here are 3 quality metric patterns for measuring change trends. Maturity, or defect trends over time. Most organizations are familiar with this and track these metrics today. Modularity, or scrapped code trends over time. This is a measure of volume of change in the executable code base. And finally, adaptability, or rework trends over time. This is a measure of the cost of change in the executable code base. These metric patterns can all be instrumented and implemented through very straightforward tooling in your change and test management environment. They are extracted directly from the code and test baselines, so they are honest indicators of measured improvement. Now, conventional projects typically uncover stifling, malignant changes late in the life cycle, as illustrated in the left-hand graphics. The iron law of software engineering is this: the later you are in the life cycle, the more expensive things are to fix. If you're experiencing this iron law, you are probably anchored in a conventional waterfall model process. Your process may be mature, but it might be more accurately described as geriatric. Modern economic governance will discover the more critical and malignant changes earlier. When it does, changes get simpler and more predictable later in the life cycle, as represented in those right-hand graphics. So how do we promote this in practice? The best catalyst for this that we've seen is to force integration activities to precede unit testing activities, thereby resolving the riskier architectural challenges before investments in unit test coverage and complete implementations. When continuous integration is executed effectively, the later you are in the life cycle, the more predictable and straightforward things are to change. This is the true measure of agility. From an econometrics perspective, improvements along the lines of integration, collaboration, and optimization will result in a quantum leap improvement in the net present value of any project. These measurement perspectives are available today in our platform so that organizations can rely on analytics engines with strong statistical foundations. On Wednesday, Grady Booch will describe the architecture and the process of Watson. This is one of the best case studies in measured improvement through continuous integration that you will find and that I have ever seen. The Watson team had a very well-defined measure of goodness for driving their integrated systems tests and measuring improvement over time. And they demonstrated some incredible agility in the face of a very complex problem with a lot of inherent uncertainty. So don't miss the Day 3 keynote. How do we reason about our investments in improved software economics? Well, here is a simple framework for improving business outcomes of software delivery.